What is the most beautiful thing about getting older?
Oh, the wisdom for sure. I mean, without a doubt. Like I've thought about this when I was 30 and when I was 40 and when I was 50 and I'm closer on the 60 side now. I'm gonna turn 56 this year. It's always the wisdom. When I look back and I think, well, would I want to go back to being 30, have that body and that attitude and all that? No, no. I mean, I know, some people, I can think of people in the gym that, they're trying constantly to recapture their youth in one way or the other. And I have not been in any way disappointed in aging, right? And I know that people discriminate against people who are older, but I wouldn't trade my wisdom for anything. And it continues to grow every day, right?
So, would you rather lose all of your memories or never be able to create new ones? Hmm. What about that?
Oh, that's a difficult thing to think about. I think I think I think lose all my memories, right?
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, I think lose all my memories and be able to create new ones.
Oh, whoa.
I think that really depends on the person and what kind of a life they've lived. Because I mean, if someone
Right,
hasn't lived a full life, they'd say, "Well, let's forget all about it and
right,
let's make some new
right.
memories."
I don't think that's not necessarily true. I just think there's a lot of people that only live in the past, right? You've seen Napoleon Dynamite, Darin?
Of course.
And he's got that uncle that comes and he's got that like Chevy shag van, right? And he's got the
Yeah.
video camera and he's set up and he's throwing passes, right? And he's just living in the past in high school. He's just living there. And Anthony, when you asked that question, I thought, well, do I want to live in the past or in the future? Right?
Right. I was like,
Because really, if I'm present,
right.
to be genuinely present is to not allow any memory to affect me emotionally.
Makes sense. Right.
Right. So as a
Right.
saint,
Uncle Rico.
right? If you think about Uncle Rico. Thank you. As you think about a saint, right? Certain saints were born enlightened, and other saints became enlightened, right?
Right.
But when you're enlightened, memory is unimportant because you've merged back into the one, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I really answer that question is that, okay, what is the past? Now,
Right.
if you think about the fact that time doesn't exist, it's only happening for us so that we can absorb these experiences, right? But it doesn't really exist. So past and future actually happen simultaneously with the present.
That's it. Right. So if
We,
you
and
if you knew,
we were talking earlier about how your perspective on things, right,
right.
shapes everything around. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, if you knew that you only had 1 year of perfect health, what would you change today?
You mean if I was going to die in a year?
Yes,
If I was going to die in a year, what would I change today?
that's right.
Hmm. I don't know that would necessarily make me more urgent or not. I mean, because what am I gonna do differently? Will I take more vacations? Okay, yeah, take more vacations. But since I've moved to Costa Rica, it's kind of seemed like a big long vacation anyway.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Well, when you live where other people go on vacation, I mean, I could look outside right now and the beautiful greenery and the mountains and the Tres Marias, right? The three
It's funny how that
mountains
never
are here
changes.
they're close. And it's always so beautiful, right? And I think it was yesterday, the day before, and Adrian and I are in the car and we're driving, and we both pointed towards the area from La Iruka because it was so clear, right? And you could see all the way up into the mountains. It was just crystal clear going up there. We both pointed at the same time and go, "Wow, how beautiful!" Because it's just, it's just like a painting. So it's so beautiful. So anyway, if I had to reassess my life because I was going to be gone in a year, I think I'd probably write some more. I mean, I've written several million words these last 10 years, and amassed a small following of people who actually believe some of these things that I believe. And so I think I would write to those people some more if I thought it was only going to be a year and I was going to be gone. But really, there was a time, Anthony, when I was a pastor, and when I got towards the end of my 20s, I realized that as a pastor, not the lead pastor, but a pastor underneath a youth pastor or a music minister, but not the lead pastor. As a pastor who serves underneath another pastor as your leader, you should never speak against that person in any way. You should never be against them. They're the leader, and you need to submit yourself to them if you're going to be working with that person as your leader. But you should never what we call backbite them, right? You should never be talking about them behind their back. And there was a time in my late 20s when I thought, there's a couple of pastors that I didn't treat right while I was serving under them. And I went and saw them in person to tell them what I did and to ask their forgiveness for what I had done, for talking about them behind their back. Both of them were surprised and very gracious, and said, "Wow, this says a lot about your character that you would come and apologize this way." I said that to say, since then, and then right after, not too many years after that, my first wife died of cancer, right? Then my mentor died of cancer. And through all of those experiences, I've learned that if I offend someone, like unintentionally or whatever, I say I'm sorry. And what I mean is I keep my accounts short. So if you said I had a year's worth to live, there's not really that much difference. There's not much different for me to do than what I'm doing now.
Sorry. So is there a thank you that you haven't said yet?
Is there somebody I need to thank that I've not thanked?
Right.
Well, for anything particular you have in mind? I mean, thank you, Anthony, for your friendship. I don't know. Do you not feel I tell you thank you or I love you enough? Or
no, you was talking about it back in the time when you was a pastor. So I'm wondering if there's one of your, I don't know, friends or family or who knows that you said, I haven't said thank you.
So unexpressed gratitude for them helping me out. No, I'm pretty good at expressing it. right there at the moment. I think so. Darin, I think it's coming up on 8 minutes here. It's your turn.
John, if you could go back to the very first deal you ever did and hand yourself a note, what are the 3 things you wish you had known? What would be on that note?
Well, the first deal I ever did was buying the Atari dealership, right, in my hometown. And so, 3 things I wish I would have done. Well, my father made me sign an agreement with him where I had to pay him the same amount of interest that I paid the bank, right? In order for him to co-sign my note at the bank. And after I did it, I probably could have gotten someone else in my family to do it for free because I was a kid. They would have just trusted me and I wouldn't have had to pay that money. But I learned even when you're with a loan shark, you might get it cheaper. So that's number 1. Number two is you need to think about how long inventory is going to take to sell. And when you're selling that kind of inventory, which is a lesson that everyone needs to learn, like you see pallets of shoes for sale, right? You see pallets of this Nike and Reebok and Adidas, and it's all mixed together. You see a pallet of shoes like that. And I bought that Atari dealership. I had all these different cartridges for all these different systems. But what I didn't think about at that time is if you have a particular cartridge, Dungeons and Dragons for the Intellivision, you're searching for that Dungeons and Dragons Intellivision fan. And if there's not many of them out there, then you have a piece of inventory that's not worth very much because it's hard to find that. It's hard to find that user, right? That particular person that you want. Not much different than selling fan memorabilia, right? If you like a guy, you like him, and if you don't like him, you don't like him. So there's that. That's number two. And number three is that, you know, your friends need to pay full price. don't let your friends buy stuff because they'll come in and buy all your best stuff and you give them a deal on it and then you get left with the junk.
That's something you learned with those that Atari deal. You give out a lot of games that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was 13, turning 14 years old, right? And you come in my bedroom, and the closet had these bifold doors. You'd open them up, and I had shelves in there, and it was just full, right? Stuff stacked up in there. Another closet in the room. It was full of stuff. There's stuff lying around the room. It was everywhere.
I'm just curious. Back then, how did you sell? There's no eBay back then, so were you just putting in the newspaper ads?
Classified ads, yeah. Classified ads. Really? I could run ads because I was in Sulphur, Louisiana, and I had Westlake and Lake Charles, and then you had Orange and Beaumont, Texas, right? And you had so many different consoles back then, right? You had Atari and you had Intellivision and ColecoVision and Vectrex and just so much other stuff, right? And so I was just buying and selling that stuff all through my teenage years through just putting classified ads and people who knew me, right? And they'd call and say, what do you have? What do you have? You'd read it to them on the phone. You'd get a long phone card. You'd read it to them, read it. I got this one. I got this one. I got this one. People would come and they'd buy, right? They'd buy 4 or 5 games at a time and haggle on it or whatever. I'd have, my mother would have a garage sale. I'd lay them all out there and people would come buy them there. I mean, just, go to the flea market.
It's funny to think about that because back then, how did your parents feel about? Because you're just having people that you're calling you online or on the phone that's, just showing up to your house to pick up some sort of console or part or whatever it may be. In today's world, it
was respected. It was respected because everyone in my family was what I call a horse trader. So everybody was people who bought and sold stuff, right? And so it was like a badge of honor if you could buy something for $10 and sell it for $50. And my mother was the queen of all because she went to garage sales. So from the time I was a little toddler, right, she had me taking me to garage sales and she's showing me all this stuff that she would buy. She would buy glassware that was collectibles, 30 or 40 years old, and she'd buy it for a dime or a quarter at a garage sale, and then she'd take it back, and then she knew collectors over in Texas that pay her $25 for it, right? Who would then take it and put it in their shop for $100, right? So it's just a different chain. It's not too much different than what we do right now, right? So we see a deal that we'll sell it in big volume, right? So we sell 5 or 6 trailers or something, and then all of a sudden you see somebody selling a trailer load, and then here's somebody selling some pallets of it, and then bam, it's all over the internet, right? So it's the same thing, same situation. But I was trained in it, is what I'm saying.
All right, it's still interesting. What was the most expensive lesson you ever learned in this business? One that's cost you the most in either money, trust, or time?
Man, the most expensive lesson is have every detail in writing. For sure, right? Because you can know people for years and things change in their life. And Dr. John Maxwell, who's a leadership expert, he says, hurting people hurt other people. And you may be in a business relationship with someone, and you've been doing business and everything's going fine. Everything's just going fine. It goes fine for years. And you've witnessed this, Darin. You've witnessed this, Anthony, in my life with people who we've had a good relationship for years, a good trust relationship, and then all of a sudden, something in their life, they get in pain for someone, financial pain or relational pain or whatever, and all of a sudden we get hurt or I get hurt. right? Because you're in proximity to that person. But no matter how long you've known someone, if you're doing business, and especially if it's thousands of dollars, everything should always be in writing. Always.
Yep.
That's the most expensive lesson I've ever had to learn. And I've also learned that when you put things in writing, the chances of them going south just drop dramatically. I was on LinkedIn the other day, and there's a guy in the closeout business, and he wrote this thing about how we don't need a PO, right? We don't need a PO. We're just buying and selling merchandise. You just give me the order and come give me the money, and we're done, right? Just these people that get involved in purchase orders, and I just thought, well, he doesn't do any big business, right? He just doesn't get there. It's hard to get past the pallet business when you don't want to take a purchase order. You don't want to wait for a purchase order. The reason this is a purchase order is because there's terms, right? And sometimes we deal with a purchase order and it's 3 pages long, and you better read through all of those terms and make sure that you agree with them, or that you've disclaimed them somehow in your own terms on that purchase order. And if you want a purchase order to be valid, it needs to be signed, right? That's the bottom line. If you want the purchase order to be valid, whoever you give it to, an officer of that company needs to sign it. And that makes that purchase order valid. Someone says, yep, we've accepted these purchase order under these terms.
Yep. You want to get into your
All right,
topics there? Because you said you wanted to talk about something yesterday.
What was it I wanted to talk about yesterday?
I can't recall what it was, but you did mention
manifestation. He talked about it yesterday.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, that's
right. Sorry.
Give out
did I mention I mentioned the feeling to you, right? That feeling of relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm meditating, I can maintain it for, let's call it 10 or 15 or 20 seconds. That feeling of, you know how when you get those goosebumps when everything's just gone just perfect and you just go, wow, that worked out. And you kind of get this whole flush down through your body, and you kind of get goosebumps down your arms, all of that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Have you felt that before?
Right. Yeah.
That feeling, right? Sometimes in meditation, not all the time, but sometimes in meditation, if I get really relaxed, I can generate that feeling for 10 seconds, something like that.
Wow.
And I wonder if, like the yogis, right? Like Om Swami is the one that comes to mind. I wonder if he can generate that feeling just constantly, because if you read his books, he says that he's in such a state of bliss. Do you understand the word bliss, Anthony?
No. About that.
Bliss is like ultimate happiness. It's like happiness and joy is just as possible, positive as you can think. That's bliss, right? It's like you just can't think any negative. You think nothing but positive. Ultimate bliss. He says that's how he feels 24/7. And then he really doesn't sleep. He really doesn't sleep anymore. He just basically gets in a resting position for like about 4 hours a night. But he doesn't require the going to sleep, like, cause his consciousness doesn't break anymore. So I wonder what that's like. And in meditation, it takes years for you to see certain things happen, right? It takes years of doing meditation and practicing it. And like still to this day, after having done it all this time, I still have a problem relaxing these muscles right here, keeping these actual muscles relaxed and keeping my eyes absolutely still, right? Because when you see something inside meditation, right, like you see an image, sometimes those images will come at me so clear, they're in color and just very clear, and then my eyes want to move. And when you're meditating, the more still you can be, the deeper the meditation is, right? But you don't want to move anything. And so I read one of Om Swami's books on meditation. He says that you should always just slightly smile, but don't tense these muscles, right? So it's a real specific kind of position. But we were talking yesterday about how, meditation affects your ability to be present and to pay attention. And that's one of the things that can make you the happiest, the most joyful in life, is when you can get present, not think about the past.
So what is
Right.
like, I have this, sorry, just 1 minute. I had this experience that when I going to fall asleep, I close my eyes, and like 2 or 3 minutes after, I started to see like purple color, right? Images, right, moving around. And I have no clue what it is, what I'm seeing. I mean, what is exactly what I'm seeing at that moment? Because it's all the time. I close my eyes, and I'd be like, right before dropping completely in sleep, I start to see all these images, and it's in purple color, right? What it is?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you need to investigate that a little bit with the artificial intelligence. It could be like the just residual light patterns on the front of your eyes, right? It's just like, so when you get really bright light and then you close your eyes, you still feel that brightness, right? It could be that, and it could be third eye production. Realize that your third eye, your pineal gland, it has optical nerves, the same optical nerves that are in your eyes. So, in other words, the nerves that allow your eyes to see, your third eye in the middle of your head has some of those same kind of nerves to see inside your head.
You could be on the brink of starting like a daydream before you fall asleep. So you could be dreaming at that point right before you fall asleep. Because do you wake up, do you open your eyes when you see it?
No, I'm about to say that even if I just like go right now and I relax, I don't need to like go deep in meditation to relax. I just like lay down and I close my eye, and I literally, when it gets dark, I start to see this image. I mean, like right now, I can go like right now, and it's always purple. It's always purple. It's a light purple, but it's always moving around, right? The shape is moving around. It's not like a square or round. No, it's always like moving around, like fire.
I mean, I had something similar to that used to happen during the beginning of my meditation. So it was more like purple things that would go like this, right? But I can't recall seeing it in a long, long time. So, but immediately in my meditation, I'm trying to shut everything off, right? I'm trying to pull everything back to nothingness as much as I can, focus on my breathing. So let's talk about today's deal, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Proven Performer Crew. This is the Made in Paradise podcast. We talk about life and deals. This is a whole truckload, 7,600 units of brand new Hasbro toys on 17 pallets, FOB, Indiana. It's $26,000 for the entire truckload. We do have a complete manifest. Here's some photos of some of the toys that are in it. Everything is absolutely brand new. Everything has a UPC code. Everything is in a Hasbro case pack. Absolutely perfect. Here's some of those case packs. And if you email us, Darin, put up our banner at the bottom of the screen. If you'll email us or text us on WhatsApp, we have all of these photographs and we can send them to you. Super clean stuff, ready to go. Everybody knows that it's not going to be long, and everybody's going to be saying, I need toys, I need toys, I need toys. All brand new, not custom returns, all in Hasbro case packs, fully manifested, $26,000 for the load. Reach out to us. We'll send you the information.
FOB Indiana.
FOB Indiana. And if you have a big closeout that you need to sell, please reach out to us. We would be happy to help you with that. We have customers in 26 different countries. We can deal with your restrictions. We are good at exporting. Darin is a logistics expert. All things export between the United States and Central and South America. Is that not true, Darin Fingleton?
It's true.
So,
100%.
And Anthony Ferguson, se habla español, and talks to many of our clients who are Spanish speakers. So please reach out to us. We would love to do some business, add you to an email list, do some business with you over WhatsApp. I'm John Clark, along with my co-hosts, Darin Fingleton and Anthony Ferguson. This has been the Made in Paradise podcast. See you tomorrow.
Ciao.